right, looks like we are good to go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another post-market review. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world, for listening to us go over a couple of tickers or price action for today, and then, of course, potential setups for tomorrow. Of course, everything that we talk about today is all in AdexTrades University. Make sure to check that out. All you got to do is go to the AdexTrades University channel, and you can be able to watch all our videos and our lessons on how we trade. All right. Now, first off, let's talk about, you guys already know what I'm going to talk about, QQQ. Before I even go into the analysis for QQQ, how do we feel about the price action today? How did it play out? Let me see what you guys think in the chat. How do we feel about the price action today? How did it play out, considering what we talked about yesterday? Something that we anticipated, something that unexpected. What do we think? Let me know in the chat. What do we think about the price action for today? How did it play out? Okay. D Money says, as we anticipated. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else? Any observations from today's price action? Okay, Mama24 says last 2 hours sucked, and I'm assuming because of the pullback and the consolidation that occurred in the last 2 hours. So yes, you are right about that. Yes, we got the move that we wanted in the beginning of the day, or the first half of the day, and then we kind of got that consolidation towards the latter half. So, anyone else? Sam 2000, as we anticipated. Good. Yes. So, going back to what we talked about yesterday, we talked about the potential CCRP for QQQ, and we had mentioned how NQ had started it off with the day prior because it had its CCRP, right? Look how NQ not only did its CCRP with a 3-1 setup on the day, it also coincided, or ended up turning into a 3-1-2 see you later. Something that we anticipated as well. So I want you guys to notice something. Notice how we have a plan, or we have we anticipate something for the market based off probability and based off confluences, and then next day we go, or we adhere to we literally trade our game plan, right? So we got that 3-1-2 see you later as expected, or as we anticipated for NQ, and that also coincided with the 3-1-2 see you later for QQQ with a CCRP. And notice how we were able to get into a gap fill today. That gap fill at 625.71, and it filled all the way at 627.61. This is why it is very important that you guys are drawing your gaps on your chart so you can know those possible areas where price is going to reverse, price is going to retrace, or they simply say yeah, we're done. We're done for today. That's all we wanted, right? And usually, I'm not going to say usually, but a lot of times when you have a gap fill, a lot of times price is going to retrace or reverse after that gap gets filled, right? Of course, in this case, you had a little wick above the gap fill, but essentially that's all they wanted. They wanted the gap fill, and then we were able to wick right down. So you want to know those levels or those areas where price is going to retrace from, and this is where we would trim. Okay. Now we talked about yesterday. Hey, what strike or which contract would we possibly take if we were to get in this trade? And some of you mentioned, you guys said the 622, 623, 624, 625, and one person even mentioned 626. And I want people to understand, and actually give me 1 second. Right? To show you guys this. Second. Wrong one. I want to give a shout out to you guys. Oh, you were correct. All right. So look at what we had mentioned in yesterday's chat. Shout out to you guys. Okay. You had said 626 4 days, 623, 625, 625, 629, 625.5, 625.5. Now let's look at where price went today. Price went to a high of 627.94. So all of you guys who mentioned a strike price with an expiration, you all would have been profitable if you had taken that trade. The reason why I bring this up is because I want us to have the foundation of the trade idea or the strike that we picked the night before, the Sunday before, or whatever, the month before, that's the one that you want to look toward. Literally, that's probably going to be the one that actually ends up being profitable. A lot of the ideas that we think about the night before usually come to fruition. Well, I don't want to say all of them. You guys know what I mean in terms of trading, but they will come to fruition more times than not, right? So if any of you ended up taking a QQQ trade or something in the QQQ tech sector and you were able to take advantage of it, congratulations, right? Now, before we move on, is there any questions about QQQ, the price action for today or anything like that? Before I move on to what could possibly happen tomorrow, stuff like that. Any question? Okay. All right. So, oh, we got someone. Let's wait. And what I'm going to be doing, and this is what you all should be doing as well, now that I always talk about updating our labels, right? So this is now the new previous day high above 627.94. This is now the new previous day low at 622.56. This gap is filled, so we don't need that anymore. This gap is filled, so we do not need that anymore. So I'll delete that line, and I could delete this, right? So now this is the new previous day high, and this is the new previous day low. So how are you making the gaps? So, right? So there is a class within AdexTrades University, how to draw gap fills, part 1 and part 2. But I will show you real quick on how we draw those gaps. So how we draw those gaps is that it is from the close to the open, and then you adjust. Okay, so I'm just gonna do it real quick. There's a gap right here, right? So a lot of people will think like, oh, there's a gap fill. The gap is from here to here. Nope, that is not where the gap is. The gap is actually from this level right here. This is where the gap is. And the reason why is because what is the characteristic of this candle? This candle opened here, it went high here, to a high of here, it went to a low of here, and then it closed here. This is where it closed at 4 p.m. Eastern. Then after it closed at 4 p.m. Eastern, price went from here all the way to right here. All the way to this candle. It opened right here. So meaning there was a gap created from this candle's close to this candle's open, but during this day, price went up. So this is why I say a gap fills must be from the close to the open, then you adjust. So now the gap is from here to here. And when you move, when price continues to progress and days like surpass, then you continue to adjust the gap. So we retraced into the gap back in December 8th. So now I'm going to adjust this gap fill to here. And now this is the remainder of the gap. Which one? Yep. So hopefully that makes sense for the gap fill. And like I said, there is a video within Charting Basics, how to draw a gap. I'm telling y'all, you guys think I'm playing. Everything is gonna go all the way back towards AdexTrades University, because by the end of 2-3 months, I'm gonna ask, hey, did we all finish AdexTrades University videos? And I want to say a unison, or everybody in unison, yes. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so that's how you draw gap fills. And now, what's the next thing that, are we only marking previous day low and previous day high? How about magnitude? Ooh, great question. So no, we are not only just marking previous day low and previous day high. The next thing that I do now at this point is that I have to see, okay, what candles are gonna be opening up tomorrow, right? Now, tomorrow we happen to have a new 2-day candle and we happen to have a new 4-day candle. So I go to the 2-day, and this is all with the assumption that we already did our higher time frame analysis. So we already did a top-down approach. We already did our homework on Sunday. We already did that, right? Now, and for those who don't know, right, because I teach this in my mentorship, what you're supposed to be doing every single day is that, and I literally mean this, you guys know this, I literally mean this, every day you adjust your labels, every single day. Every single day, when what opens up tomorrow? Oh, new 2-day and new 4-day? All right, we're gonna be adjusting those labels too. So with that being said, now that we have a new 2-day candle that's going to be opening up tomorrow, I look at the chart. What could we possibly do if a new 2-day candle opens, right? If a new 2-day candle opens up tomorrow, we have really 3, but we have 2 possibilities. Either a 3-2-2 continuation or a 3-2-2 reversal, right? And so I will mark my labels. This is a potential 322 reversal on the 2-day. And you guys already see that I have all the labels for the strat days. So 322 rev 2-day. All right. And then this, the previous day high, is also coincides with the 322 up on the 2-day. Okay. Now I usually don't, when you get used to it, right? When you get used to it, because there's gonna be the days that like, oh, you have a 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, 6-day candle opening up. And y'all know when y'all have those charts where if you trigger 2 up on the day, you're gonna be triggering 2 up on the 3-day, the 4-day, the 5-day, the 6-day, the 9-day. So because of just for time, right? For time, I usually would just leave this at previous day high. But if you're new to labeling, and my mentees know this, if you are new to labeling, I do recommend you adding every single trigger on that label so you could remember what is gonna happen if price crosses above it. So when price crosses, so let's, for example, tomorrow, if price crosses above 627.94, and I say, hey y'all, what's going on right now? And someone says like, oh, we just went 2 up on a day. And be like, that's it? And some of you in chat, you guys have seen me say that, where you'll have a chart and I'll say, what else? What else? Because that trigger is not just the previous day high. We won't just be triggering previous day high. We also will be triggering a 322 continuation on the 2-day above that 627.94. That's important because 322s is an important signal. So you must know what that means if we were to get above 627.94. Tomorrow, we also have a new 4-day candle opening up. Now, this is very important, y'all, because look at this 4-day. This 4-day tells you, I don't want to say everything you need to know, but you just be by us looking at this 4-day, we're like, oh, okay. And hold on, I need go to the QQQ, let me go to a blank chart, right? This is a 4-day candle. And if I really wanted to we really want to get serious, look what's happening right now. Look what's about to happen right. And I know some of y'all have seen this pattern before. Y'all seen this pattern. We know what QQQ is about to do. It's just a matter of what side do you break out of. As much as I want to say at this current moment, all right, yeah, we're going up, 3-2 up, right? But I have to be objective that it is a 3. You can also do a 3-2 down, right? But if you were to do a 3-2 down on the 4-day time frame, how would that occur? Guess what? That would occur by you doing a 3-2-2 reversal on the 2-day chart that we had talked about on that 2-day. So this is why it's very important that you label, because you guys have seen those charts where it looks like, oh yeah, we're definitely going up. And the next day it just triggers down. You're like, well, what? How did that happen? But then you got to know, well, this is how it can happen by you doing a 3-2-2 reversal on the 2-day time frame, and that's how you could potentially do a 3-2 down on the 4-day chart. Right? We're not saying it will do that, but we know the pathway of how it can do that. So that's why you guys know when you guys know me, when the market goes down and then I'm like, why are people mad? Because it's like, because I always say the chart will show a sign, or there's going to be one time frame that got the CCRP that say, yo, we got a potential to go down. And this is what I mean by, we can, if all of a sudden, oh my God, QQQs fall, right? We can't be upset because if they trigger a 3-2-2 reversal on the 2-day, we know what's happening at that moment in time, right? Because at that moment in time, the target for a 3-2-2 reversal on the 2-day is this candle's low, whether we like it or not, until it reverses that signal, right? Until proven otherwise. So that's why I'm saying that if you have to mark that label, 2-day candle opens up tomorrow. So below 618.54, that would be a 3-2-2 reversal on the 2-day time frame. Make sure you guys are looking at your strat combo. I got a cool trick that I'm gonna do for next class. Anyway, so 3-2-2 reversal on the 2-day. 4-day chart, remember, this is an outside 4-day. So just for the sake of this example, I'm also gonna mark 3-2 up 4-day. That's the label for this trigger. So you'll know that if we trigger above 627.94, we're not just triggering 2 up on a day. You're triggering 2 up on a 2-day chart, right? You have a 2-day participant with you that's on the bus. You're triggering a 3-2 up on a 4-day chart. You have a 4-day participant that's with you that's on the bus. That's why I say you have to, you literally have to understand, like when you trigger 2 up off of something, what that means. It's not just, oh, we just triggered 2 up. No, what you trigger 2 up on? 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, 5-day? 4 of the days, 7 of the days, because the bigger the trip, the bigger the amount of time frames that you trigger when you trigger 2 down lets you know how long you can stay on the bus. Example, Apple, right? Like it will let you know how long you can stay on the bus. So it's very important that you are labeling your triggers. Now, going back to that 4-day time frame with the hammer on the 4-day chart, this is letting me know, we know that I don't want to say objectively, but there's more of a bullish perspective, or I could say this is bullish in nature, but in order for us to get that confirmation, we would need a 3-2 up on a 4-day. All right. So everyone should understand that we have and this is why like I lean bullish, my bias is bullish, that we're eventually going to trigger a 3-2 up on the 4-day time frame. But it's with the understanding that if they trigger a 3-2-2 reversal on the 2-day chart, though, we know what's going on we know what is true at that current moment. And you also have a gap fill. Actually, not even one more gap. This is what I'm saying. I got 2 gaps to the downside. 3. Now you got the gap right there that we created from yesterday. So that's another gap. So you can literally, I know it don't look like you can, but you could literally, if you want to, you could do this, right? We know what that looks like. Not saying it will, but it can. If then statements. If we were to, and hey, Adex, why are you so bearish? Weren't you just so bullish yesterday? Yeah, but we got to shoot around the day. We got to shoot around the day. We know what that means. If a shooter becomes actionable, we know you're more likelihood to be going down. And if you go down, what's the target for the shooter? Target for the shooter right here. What's below that target? Oh, a gap fill. Oh, what's below that? Oh, another gap fill. Oh. See? And this is why you can go from bullish to bearish. You know, and you guys have seen what 2025 was. If they want to go bullish to bearish within a day and switch, they can do that. So just letting people know. It's those if-then statements. If we were to trigger a 2-2 reversal to the downside, what does that make the higher time frame look like? You have the potential, if you were to get a target, to trigger a 3-2-2 rev on the 2-day chart, and then you would be able to go into a gap. But of course, if you trigger 2-2 up on the daily, well, we know what our next target is for the upside too. Gap fill. Okay. How do you know what days are opening? TradingView, also in AdexTrades University. In TradingView, if you just hover to the right of the live candle, so let me go to the blank one. Okay, so this is a 2-day chart. If you were to just hover to the right of the live candle, TradingView tells you at the bottom that it's Thursday, January 8th. Let's go to the 9-day chart, okay? A new 9-day candle is going to be opening up on Thursday, January 15th. Okay. Any other questions about QQQ? All right. Now, next one I want to talk about is low. Right. So, low. Now, the reason I want to talk about this one is because yesterday in the swing trade alerts, I had mentioned that I'm going to be taking a hedge position in low. I was down. So I was down like maybe 50% on the puts. Average down on the puts to be down about 30%, but then it started going back up, not in my favor. So at that moment of time, and I want people to realize why is it that and this is why I love confluences. Like, it's not me saying, oh, let me just do it to like do it. No, it's because, the chart is saying you got more green than red. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So for example, yesterday low triggered so low went outside day, and I've had this broadening formation drawn. You guys have seen in the alerts. I've had this broadening formation drawn since we did this move back on December 18th, right? And why? Because I wanted the 3-2 down on the weekly time frame. We had mentioned this yesterday, so I'm not going to go into too detail about like it not going down and stuff like that. But at this current moment, I got to be objective. This is why I love charts. What are we on the day? Green. What are we on the week? Green. What are we on the month? Green. What are we on a quarter? Green. What are we on the year? Green. Oh, but it just opened. It's not real yet. Okay, but at the current moment, what do we know to be true? That's why I love the strat. At the current moment, what do we know to be true is that for what, the 4 or 5 days that the market been open, 3-4 days that the market been open, they've been buying. Right? You have more aggression for buyers than sellers. How do you know that? It's only been 3 days. But also look at the bars. They went outside. 2 out of the 3 days, they went outside to the upside. And both of them displaced the previous time frame, right? So let's look at the higher time frames, right? You have every single trade that you take, you must look at a higher time frame to see what the higher time frame looks like. On a 2-day chart, I wish it didn't show this week yet, but you guys know. It already triggered 3-2 up on a 2-day. On a 3-day chart, we were outside 3-day, okay? Outside 3-day, y'all know it's either 3-2 up or 3-2 down. And right now you're at the bottom of a broadening formation. If you go to the 4-day time frame, it's not supposed to show this week yet, but you're already at 1-3 on the 4-day chart. On a 5-day time frame, you were at 1-3 on the 5-day. You guys can already see that it had already triggered 2 up or an outside bar to the upside on majority of time frames. To even show you this, it triggered 2 up on a 2-week chart and it triggered 2 up on a 3-week chart. This is a 2-1-2 up on a 3-week. I want people to go back to yesterday's if you can go back to yesterday's post-market recap where I said, yo, ADEX, whether you like it or not, and y'all gonna see in the next reel that I post about tomorrow, whether I like it or not, I gotta look at the chart for what it is. It triggered a 2-1-2 up. 2-1-2 up means up, unless it goes down. So objectively speaking, based off the strat, it's saying that it's gonna go up here until proven otherwise. And then what happened today? You got your 2-1-2 up, according to the strat. And yeah, of course, it was aided by a gap up today. But look how we were able to, and I want people to go, let me, give me 1 second. And the reason why I just want to bring this up is because I want you guys to do this as well this year. If you know, and I'm telling you, there's going to be clues on the chart. There's going to be clues on the chart that say, hey, you know what? There's more confluences for the upside than the downside at this current moment. And what you can do is that you can hedge. If you're already down on the position, you can hedge that position. And you know what? The goal with hedging, and there's also a class with hedging within AdexTrades University. The goal with hedging is to not like the hedge to make more money than your original position. That's not the goal. The goal with hedging is to minimize the amount that you lose with the hedge. However, there can be some cases like today, or like for some of you remember the SMH trade from last, or actually, dang, that would be 2 years ago now, from 2 years ago, where the hedge can make more money than the one that you're losing on. And you know what's fascinating about low right now? For those of you that are in the play, I'm still only down 38% on the puts. Because I'm still in. Now, I'm not saying it will happen, but what if? This is what I'm saying. This is why I love the market. Well, what if low is like, oh yeah, we just need to manipulate you out real quick, but we're probably really going to be going down. And what if it does a 3-2 reversal back to the downside and ends up taking back the previous week low? I'm not saying it will, but imagine that's in a situation where you make money in the calls and you're still in the puts and you average down in the puts. Right, tomorrow, if we get a 3-2 reversal, what you think I want to do with the puts? Average down on that. And then if it ends up going to previous week low, you end up being profitable on both positions. But you gotta know, but why am I doing this though? It's because of the confluences on the chart, right? We had the broadening formation drawn since the 19th of December. And we know if price goes right here, you're at the top of the broadening formation. Price is right here, but it's not going below, you might want to reverse back up. Why? You got an outside 3-bar, you triggered a 2-1-2 up on a 3-week, you triggered 2-2 up on a 2-week, you triggered 2 up on the week. As much as I want to say, oh, it triggered 2 down, it didn't trigger 2 down on anything. Did it even trigger 2 down on the month? No, it triggered 2 up on the month. After today's candle, yeah, it triggered 2 up on the month. Right? So hopefully this makes sense. Like, because I'm telling y'all, the more you trade, it's from mistakes. It's from mistakes. And I say this, like I make the same mistakes. I make the same mistakes in terms of, and when it's not really a mistake, it's just you trade the same thing, or actually it's not a mistake at all. You're just trading the same setup. That's why I tell people that, like, oh, I know when, oh yeah, it's time to get out. because it's repetition. The market is giving you clues, and I talked about it yesterday. The market if it's supposed to go down, it's supposed to go down. If it's not, it probably wants to reverse. Okay. Any questions on this trade example? Any questions on this one? Ooh. All right, the next trade idea, Dash. All right, so the reason for Dash and trade ID. All right, so yesterday's trade idea. Okay, I think this, okay, so this is probably a potential higher low or a potential break of structure to the upside. I believe it's just a matter of time. Now, why do I think that? Because it's a matter of if-then statements, okay? Now, yesterday, remember that we had a new 3-day candle that was gonna be opening up today. Let me put 2. Dash. All right. 3-day. Telling y'all, let your mind work. It's cool. It's cool. Okay, so let's see. So today we had a new 3-day candle that's going to be opening up. All right, you have a new 3-day candle that's going to be opening up. I looked at Dash, and first of all, where's the break of structure? Retest. Yeah, let me start from here. So Dash is in a downtrend, right? See, that's in a downtrend. This right here. Then we gap down. Then we do this little move. You know what? Here. Back here. All right. This. So we know that we're in a downtrend at this moment of time. This is a downtrend. That coincides with this right here. Now, do you see the top of this 3 candle? And I'm just gonna highlight it. Okay, so in my opinion, right, this is lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high. Okay, so this is a higher high compared to this lower high. Now, for those that know, what occurred here? What occurred right here? If this is truly a lower high and this is a higher high, what occurred here? Let me know in the chat. If this is truly a lower high and this is a higher high, what occurred here? Ooh, GKCISD, market structure should change the structure, break a structure, market structure should change the structure. Yes, you guys got it right. Yes. So this is a potential market structure shift right here, right? So now in price, let me also draw the market structure shift on this diagram. So and now where are we? We are right here, right? And we had a double outside bar. Now, Remember, y'all. Remember. What do I say about double outside bars? What do I say about double outside bars? Anyone? What do I say about double outside? What do we do when we see a double outside bar? Do you remember? Hey, yes, good job. Brianna, BGS said put them together. Yes, you put them together. So the first thing is that if you look at this double outside bar, you must know that these two candles together make up one big outside bar. Okay? These two candles together, if you were to aggregate them, this is just one big outside bar. All right? That's the first part. Now, the second part is that if you recognize that this is one big three, you take the range. This is one big three that is inside, or I'm sorry, that's outside of this candle right here. It's not outside of this candle because this one wicks up, but it's outside of this candle right here. So this could be what? 3, 2 down, 2 down, then a 3 bar. All right? That's the first part. You created a 3. And where are you creating a 3? Right where that market structure shift just happens to be. Okay? Now, after the formation of a 3 bar, we know about how powerful the 3 twos are. What happened yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday, we triggered a 3-2 up. Okay? So a 3-2 up, that tells us, one, that you're probably going to be going in that direction. And now we must use higher time frame analysis to confirm or to reinforce if that signal is actually true. Let's go to the 2-day time frame. The 2-day time frame, oh, and I don't want it to occur yet. Let me do the 1 day. The 3. Okay, so I got the 1 day, the 2 day, and the 3 day up at the same time. Okay, so the 1 day triggered the CCRP on a daily time frame. Now I want you guys to consider this. DoorDash, by it triggering a 3-2 up on the day, what did it just? Let's see who really paying attention. By DoorDash triggering a 3-2 up on the day, what did it just unlock the key to potentially do on the 2-day time frame? By it triggering a 3-2 up on a day, what did it just unlock the key to potentially do on a 2-day time frame? Oh, I see one answer so far. I see 2 answers so far. Oh, actually, you guys are all right. CCRP and a hammer, y'all are right. You pretty much unlock the potential to now do a CCRP. Now have that in the back of your mind. And this is what I'm saying, like, yo, it's kind of like it's kind of like a card game where it's like they're giving you these clues and you have that clue or that card in your pocket, like, ooh, that's the hammer card. I remember when it had it last week. Boom, 2 up. Okay, you guys know I'm a nerd about this stuff, so I apologize. But anyway, so 2 up, right? You just unlocked the key for a CCRP. So now in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay. So now DoorDash, and mind you, y'all, this is on Tuesday. This is on Tuesday's close. So your if-then statement, if DoorDash remains green on the 2-day candle, you have the potential to trigger a CCRP on the following 2-day. So what does that mean? That means in order for it to remain green on the 2-day candle, what must happen on Wednesday? What must DoorDash do on Wednesday? Or what can it not do? Either you can answer either of those questions. If DoorDash needs to remain green on the 2-day candle to remain unlocked for the potential of the 2-day, what must it do on Wednesday? What must it do? Oh man, we put it puzzle. I'm telling you, you guys are gonna be like, whoa, this is how you think. I'll be like, yeah, bro. I think, like, what does it do? Not only must it do 2 up, okay, you got, yes, yeah, but let's not take it that far. It could be a little bit easier. It could be a little bit easier. And that's why I said the second question of there's something that it must not do, right? Ooh, Doodle D says it. Doodle D. I see one of the answers. Close green. It needs to close, or what it must not do, it must not turn red, right? Think about this, y'all. Think about this. I'll put this together. If DoorDash, let's say we opened up on Wednesday and we were to trigger a 3-2-2 down on the daily, right? If you trigger a 3-2 down on the daily, guess what? You will no longer be green on the 2-day candle. Because guess what? I hope you guys are realizing this. The 2-day chart is still live today. So how does this, because this is where it closed, right? How does this go down? How will this go down? How does this candlestick turn red, right? How will it turn red? Is by literally the daily would have had to been a 3-2-2 down on the day. Okay, does that make sense? Does this make sense so far? Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, say yes, no. I want people to understand this concept. Does that make sense? In order for the 2-day chart to flip back red, the daily would have needed to do at least a 3, or it didn't have to be, at least be below yesterday's open, right? It just got to be below yesterday's open. Because if you're below yesterday's open, you are no longer green on the 2-day and you no longer meet CCRP qualifications, right? In order for you to meet CCRP qualifications, you must remain green on the 2-day. So this is why you guys put it together. Okay, so if we know that DoorDash must close green on the 2-day, and what makes up the 2-day candle is Tuesday and Wednesday, then that means Wednesday must at least close green, so in order to remain green on the 2-day chart. Does that make sense? Is y'all following me so far? Yes, I got a couple of yeses, so as soon as I'll get it. Okay, cool. So now, if DoorDash were to remain green on the daily, then the key to unlock the 2-day, it remains open. Watch. Look at this. 2-day. DoorDash remained green on the day, so what are we on the 2-day, right? We're still a green 2-day candle. So now you have a potential CCRP on the 2-day chart. And when does the new 2-day candle open? That is going to be opening up tomorrow. So I know I always talk about, like, I hope people understand, because everything is always relating back. Okay, when's the new candle opening? The 3-day candle opens on Friday. Okay, so that means this candle is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If I want to hammer on this 3-day candle, you must be green on. I don't know how to say it. It's not like math. Is it math? I don't know if it's math, but whatever. But you guys are getting me. So 2-day chart. So now, y'all, DoorDash has the potential to do a CCRP for the next 2-day candle, which happens to open up tomorrow. Okay, now I'm always what do I say? After we know what could possibly happen on a 2-day, what is the next thing that we doing? What is the next thing that we do? Once we figured out what could possibly happen on a 2-day, what is the next thing that we do? What is the next thing that we're supposed to do? Make the trigger? Yes. Okay. Make the trigger. Previous day high, and as well as 2-2. You can do 2-2 continuation or 2-2 up 2-day, right? Now after I made that trigger, after I labeled the trigger, what else? What else? What's the next thing that I do? We figured out what the 2-day could possibly do. And let me also, for the sake of this, let me also mark the downside trigger as well. 2-2 rev, 2-day, the downside. What's the next thing? After the 2-day chart target, Ram said it. Look for other time frames. Look for other, actually, combination of Alien and Ram, because you look for other time frames, but also figure out the target. If we were to trigger the CCRP on the 2-day chart, right? If we were to trigger the CCRP on the 2-day, what's the target? The next target for that is this candle's high right here. Right? So I'm just gonna leave this arrow for the sake of this example. I'm gonna leave that arrow there because we've already labeled the triggers prior to the week open, so we know what that happens to be. That happens to be 2 up on the week. Now we go to the 3-day. Now let's look at the 3-day. The 3-day, and move this. What does the 3-day What does the 3-day have in terms of the strat combo, or what did it do? And 2, what does it have the potential to do? To the 3-day. Look at what does the 3-day have the potential to do? 322 up and CCRP, right? You see like, oh, hold up. 1, 2, 3, 4 red candles. And not only that, you have a 3-bar. And look at where this 3-bar is. I haven't even drawn OTE yet, but you guys know this is where OTE is. Like, look at this 3-bar. So the 3-bar, just the 3-bar itself tells us, oh, you have a potential 3-2 up. And we know those are powerful. Those are trend line breaks, trend line break 3, right? And you also have a CCRP. And Trish also said it, you also have a potential PMG to the upside. So now that you know, oh snap, the 3-day opens up tomorrow too, and you just came off of 1, 2, 3, 4 red candles. So wait, hold up. So you mean to tell me that if we get this supposed 3-day candle that's going to be opened up on Wednesday, January 7th, if you're telling me that if it happens to be green on Wednesday, let's say it's red on Thursday, but if it happens to close green by Friday, what will it be setting up to do for the next candle? Another CCRP. So now the 3-day candle, like now the 3-day chart is even telling you, remember I always talk about the bus stop. The 3-day, you was about to leave, but the 3-day saying, whoa, hold up, wait. You sure you want to do that? And you're like, why? And you're like, hear me out real quick. So I'm a 3-day candle, and it takes 3 days for this candle for price action. You got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Imagine if we were to close green on Friday. What would you think about me then? And then and he looks at him like, you'd be a CCRP, and you could be setting up for a potential 2-2 on Monday. And then the guy looks at him, yep, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stay on the bus. I'm gonna stay on the bus. Because a 3-day chart is now telling you, whoa, we may not be done yet. We just opened. So now you have another confluence that tells you the play hasn't even started yet. And Ram just said it, because another one is the 4-day chart, y'all. Another time frame opens up tomorrow. You have another time frame opening up tomorrow, and guess what it happens to be? A hammer 4-day. And guess what? You guys have seen the signal by now. Those 3-2 ups, those powerful trendline break 3s. If Dash were to trigger 2 up tomorrow, what could it potentially do on a 4-day time frame? A potential 3-2 up on the 4-day. And that's not all. That's just, now you add that confluence list to the book. And remember, Alien House said it. He said you got to look for targets. We already mentioned on the 2-day time frame that if you trigger the CCRP on the 2-day, where's that target? Previous week high, right? Okay, let me just go to the weekly chart real quick. So you're going to be triggering 2 up on the week? Is that correct? Oh, excuse me. No, you will not be triggering not just 2 up on a week. You would be triggering an outside week. And guess what? For those of you that know about the SSS 50% rule, we are already above 50% of the previous weekly candle. This is another confluence that is telling you you have another or a higher probability of going to the, oh, that's supposed to be the Fibonacci. You have a higher probability of going to the upside. And this is why, I know I sound like a broken record, but this is why, I love these time frames, because each time frame gives you one clue. Like, imagine if someone didn't know. Imagine if someone who didn't know about all these fractal time frames, and all they traded was SSS 50%. Oh, I just wait for candles to retrace above 50%, and then I take the opposite side, right? They would look at Dash and be like, oh, Dash got a potential outside week, SSS 50% of the week. That's their confluence. That's why I say, these confluences, there's one reason to tell you up, and there's another reason that tells 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 you up. And if you imagine you have 13 reasons that tell you up, that's 13 reasons why. I know I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. But this is why I love this stuff, because it's like every time frame matters. Every time frame tells you one clue that says, you know what? We probably are gonna be going to the upside or to the downside, depending on what it is. So I say this to say, AdexTrades University, we talk about it. We talk about how it is integral. I'm saying integral. It is that you must look at every single time frame, because every time frame is going to give you the clue, right, on why you should take that trade. Going back to DoorDash, if I just write those confluences list out real quick, right? What do we have? We had a CCRP, potential CCRP 2-day, right? 3-2 up, 3-2-2 up on the, what was it? On the 2-day? No, on the 3-day. 3-2 up on the 3-day. 3-2 up, 3-day. Potential CCRP on the 3-day. You have a potential 3-2 up on the 4-day, right? We didn't even go to the 5-day time frame yet. The 5-day, which is still live, right? You got a potential. Oh my gosh, this is what I'm saying. They're dangerous. They're kind of being disrespectful, because now, what? Imagine if tomorrow we trigger to outside week. What are we gonna be on the 5-day? We're gonna be at 1-3 on the 5-day. We're gonna be at 1-3. So now I'm gonna write that potential 1-3 5-day, 1-3 5-day. And why? Oh, what's so special about a 1-3? Because what comes after, or what can come after a 1-3, right? Oh, a potential 1-3-2 up. Bingo! That's another confluence, right? And then go 6-day time frame. Oh, when does the 6-day open? Monday. So this also can potential. You can just write it 6-day, right? And then 7 days fake, 8-day. Oh, this is beautiful. 8-day is already a 1-3. Oh, you have a 1-3, and hence, what I'm saying, what? This is why, y'all. When you guys, when I said on the, if you guys look back at trade ideas, when I said what participant I'm in. I'm a 4-day into an 8-day participant, because essentially what I'm doing in my brain, and this is what you guys are doing, you are essentially, and this is why I tell you guys, like, yo, you could tell the chart what to do, like, and it's kind of cool. Not literally, like, I don't, and I don't mean it like with arrogance, but like when you see something forming on a higher time frame, you're like, yo, that's a 1-3 on an 8-day. You remember how I told you guys, I like, yo, you're gonna get to a point where you want the chart that you want, where you want the setup that you want, like. Once I saw Dash on the 8-day, okay, how are you going to do a one? Because you guys know there's only 2 or 3, right? After you see the setup of 1-3, what can Dash do? Either a 1-3-2 up, a 1-3-1, or a 1-3-2 down. Now, if you have 8 other time frames that tell you you're most likely going to do a 1-3-2 up, and then you know, oh, the rule book of a 1-3-2 is explosion, and then I'm like, yeah, I want that. That's why I tell you guys, like, there's certain charts where you're gonna be like, no, I want that one. Because if you know that a 1-3-2 up is explosive, and they're saying, yo, someone said was it Mansa? Someone asked me twice about Microsoft on a 12-day chart. Someone asked me twice, they're like, yo, look at Microsoft on a 12-day. On a 12-day. Hold on, let me show you guys. Let me show you why. You know why? I want that. Like, I want that. That's a 1-1-3 on a 12-day. Like, what? Like, this is what I tell people. Like, there's charts that tell you, yo, you better pay attention to me, because you know what's about to happen off of a 1-1-3. Off of a 1-1-3? Off of a 1-1-3? Let me show you what happens off of a 1-1-3. If for some people that don't remember. Let me show you what a 1-1-3 does. This is what a 1-1-3 does. Airbnb. 1-1-3. Airbnb hasn't looked back since. 1-1-3. Airbnb hasn't looked back since. And Vincent, remember, Vincent gave me the layup. Vincent was like, yo, look at Airbnb, I got a 1-1-3. And I was just laughing. Oh, look at that, look at a 1-1-3. Airbnb looking down at me and laughing. So I say that to say, Microsoft on a 12-day time frame? And this is not no 1-1-3 on a daily. So imagine, if you're gonna do, so if the next candle happens to do a 2 up, right? Let's make that green. If that happens to be a 2 up, and based off the 1-1-3, and the next candle happen to be a 2 up, right? And the target for that is 513. So then I ask people, okay, if a trade setup tells you that from entry to target is about $50-$60, do you want that? You're like, yeah, it's pretty good. This is why I tell you guys, like, you guys can pick the trades that you want, because the target, it's telling you get above this high, the next target is right there, 513. But it's. Imagine, y'all, Microsoft has not traded yet. We're not even in February, but we know at this current moment the potential, what can occur. At this current moment, we know what can happen based off this 1-1. That's why this stuff is deadly. That's why I think it's crazy, because how can we see a chart before it even happened? How is it that we gonna say XLE gonna trigger 2112 up in a quarter back in November? I had one of my friends saying like, oh, did you know that Venezuela? I was like, no. They're like, how do you do that? And I was like, it's just like, there's this thing called like chart before the news and stuff like that. And they're like, that's kind of like you predict. I'm like, no, it's not like that. It ain't like that. But it's like, you know, hey, it's just price action. We can't predict no geopolitical event, but we can say we're gonna take a trade based off a 212 up though. And we're gonna stay in based off a 212 up. Hope that makes sense. So going back, I forgot what trade idea I was even looking at. Oh yeah, so going back to Dash, right? So now with the 4-day time frame, you have an outside 4-day with the potential to do a 3-2 up on the 4-day chart. 8-day has a 1-3 on the 8-day, and the next 8-day candle doesn't open up until next Wednesday. So you really got a long time for like the 8-day to even become actionable. If it were to do a 1-3-2 up, that's like next Wednesday, right? But right now at this current moment, what's the next target? Potential outside week. That would be the potential outside week. If we look at the higher time frames, if we go to outside week, then you got a potential outside 2 week setting up. And if you go to an outside 2 week, then you got a lot. This could be one of them ones. This could be one of them ones, but we'll see. Oh, also, how did I forget this one? Your inside month. That's also one of the reasons why. Now, mind you, I was looking at the expiration and it was kind of like, I didn't like how they were priced. So that's why I got the 30th, I believe. But it's with maybe the anticipation of rolling. Because remember, even though this is the go, I want people, like, when you're inside, this is why I love looking at the higher time frames. Because yeah, we're looking at the 3-2 up on a daily, we're looking at the 2 up, but when you realize that you're consolidating in a bigger time frame, you want that objective. Because consolidation into expansion, right? And this is, and I'm not trying to, this is how we are able to get 100%, 200%, 300% swing trades and stuff like that. Because we are looking at the higher time frames. And that's why we buy that time. Right? I want to give a shout out to Brianna because she took an eBay trade, and she took this trade because of a double inside 2 week, y'all. Mind you, I want people to understand this. The double inside 2 week. So y'all know, you guys watch AdexTrades University, you're supposed to stay in this trade based off a double inside bar. You're supposed to stay in the trade at least 2 times the amount. This is double inside 2 week, meaning that you got to stay in this trade for at least 4 weeks, right? But the double inside tells you, this is why I love these charts, because the double inside bar, it tells you that, hey, if this is your trigger, that means this year is your invalidation, right? And based off the double inside setup, you can have 2 times the amount of an expansion to the upside. She been in this trade for 6 weeks, y'all. But guess what? Now eBay want to be like, oh, thank you for holding. Now we gonna pay you. Because she stuck to the rule book. Based off what this, that's why I say based on what this, I don't say up, down, to the right, to the left. The charts say up, down, to the right, to the left. And you just gotta listen to the setup. So, I'll say this. Or the last thing I'm gonna say about this example, that strat combo cheat sheet, y'all. That strat combo cheat sheet. That's why you guys have seen my desk. That's why I have the keyboard desk mat underneath. It is the rule book for me, how I trade, and I don't want to say like, oh, like, it's not, no, it's how it's what keeps me confident. And I encourage y'all, I believe it will keep you guys confident as well. Because a strat combo telling you, this is the entry, there is the target, you know the invalidation. And you don't get out until it gets into the invalidation, right? And the last example, this is the last example I'm gonna say, Apple. So again, we're still in these shorts. Why are we holding? I'm going to remind you guys. Remember, you want to train, or not train, but you are on the bus with these higher time frame participants. Like a double inside. Like, hold on. What did I just say about eBay, right? If eBay going to do a double inside 2 week, and we know based off this double inside 2 week, you have the potential to do 2 candles, right? So what does Apple have the potential to do on a 3 week perspective? Right? Now, if you take that same logic and you're like, okay, you just broke out of a double inside 3 week. Now you have the potential to do 2 extension candles to the same side, right? That means you don't have to do it because you're already up and we're in profits, but that means you could potentially hold for another 3 weeks. In this case, it would be 5 weeks, right? Another 3 weeks. Another 3 weeks, because the new 3-week candle will be opening up in 3 weeks, right? But you can hold for another 3 weeks for the potential to get that next candle to do a 2 down. And that's how we get these 400% swing trades. Because the chart said the 5-week chart is not, not the 5 week, 7 week. Look at the 8-week. That's a 2-1-2 down. That has not reached target yet. That's a 2-1-2 down that has not reached target yet. Diane had a question in follow-up to my previous question. Okay, I'm gonna read the one for Dash. Since inside on a higher time frame and mother bar, why not wait to take the trade until price goes in force on the weekly? Let me show you. So this is the reason why. Go to the 4 hour. This. So when I had looked at Dash, I noticed this displacement and this wick. So this is where we had entered the trade. So I was like, huh. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, if you're not really gonna go down, like this would be a good area for you to reverse. So I marked my fibs, this low, this high, and that wick right here after sweeping hourly lows, I was like, man, this would be a great spot for Dash to go up. And I always say those like market structure. This is why I love market structure. If Dash truly wants to go up, then objectively we know that OTE is the highest the area that I guess coincides with the highest probability for a reversal to start, right? So the fact that it had tapped into 0.5, you had swept this range, and you were coming off of displacement. This was displacement. I mean, I was like, you know what? This is like a low risk entry, and because I'm thinking about the weekly, the 8-day, right? That's why I'm like low risk entry to potentially get a starter position to take it back to the upside. I'm down. And once I saw that wick, it was go time. So hopefully that makes sense, because it's trigger you are correct. You can wait till the weekly. You are definitely correct. Or can wait. But the way, or not all the time, but some of my trades is that if you can get an earlier entry, because if your bias is already up, I truly believe this. I truly believe it, like in the market structure. And there's a guy named ICT Curry. He had a quote, and I was like, man, that's a bar. And he said that like with market structure allows you. He said like price action does something, but market structure is the reason why you are allowed to anticipate direction. I want to find that quote again, but I thought it was a bar because it's true. It really is inherently true. If structure is up, market structure is the thing that's telling you when price comes down here, when price comes down here, you have an 80% chance of a reversal back to the upside, or 90%. That's the thing that I love about structure. Like if the definition of an uptrend is a higher high and a higher low. So meaning, let me just draw this line. Like if you're in an uptrend like this, I'm gonna just draw shade this area right here. You have, think about someone saying there is a 90% chance of a reversal in this area. And that's why structure is very important, because it has to be true. It has to be true. And if it doesn't, if it breaks down, then you're not in an uptrend. Or because what happens at that point? You have a market structure shift to the downside. Like that's what happens. You just have a market structure shift to the downside. So I think that's what That's why. And Vincent's good at it. Vincent, like, y'all tune into Vincent on Saturday, especially when he got his new setup now. Oh, he about to be going crazy anyway. But tune in because he will let you know about like structure and putting strat together. Like with structure, and this is not like a. I'm trying to say. You know how stratters say like, or some stratters say like, don't trade inside bars. Market structure is the thing or the tool, part of the tool belt that will allow you to trade an inside bar. It allows you, and that's why I said I wish Vincent was here because he's had a quote about the skeleton or something. That is what, because if you know that structure is up, you think about it. Before a 2-on-2 up, right? Before a 2-on-2 up, before it goes 2 up, the one bar, if you can know that definition of that one bar that it's in an uptrend, then you know prior to the next 2 candle that you're in an uptrend. So the next candle has to be a 2 bar. So I know I'm not trying to get like all detailed and stuff like this, but these are some of the things like I just be thinking about, like about price. Like, yo, this like price action is like it's like really mechanical. It's freaking crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, Martin. 50%. Thank you for that question, Diane. And then I will also look at the other question. If you're using higher time frame analysis, what is your thesis for taking the trade? I see as a stratter. Inside year, it's a monthly huge mother bar, but price on the floor. For this example, specifically for Dash, it was the monthly. It was a monthly. It's with the anticipation. Yes, you are in a mother bar, but it's with the anticipation that you are going to not break out of the mother bar, but break out of the inside candle. That you're going to break out of the inside candle. And if you can have what I call a pathway, right? If there's a pathway that's saying that 3-2 up target happens to be 2 up on the month, then it's like, okay, if we know that 3-2 up essentially by that trigger, by that combination saying that it's going to go up, it's like an in-force directional candle. That's what the 3-2 up means. Well, where are you going to do a 3-2 up towards? 2 up on a month. All right. So if you're going to be triggering 2 up in the month, and we know that you, after consolidation, based on physics or whatever, consolidation comes expansion, where we're essentially getting in before the expansion. We're using probability. And I'm going to end it with this. We're using probability analysis to figure out which side the expansion is going to occur. And based off lower time frame clues, which is market structure and strat signals, it increases the chance of that particular side doing it. That's what it is. Now, all the time it's not gonna work. It doesn't work all the time. But y'all know me. The more time frames I got in your favor, the more time than that is gonna work. Right? So that's essentially what it is. You are trying to like, and that's why I like that inside bar. Like, okay, you got an inside month, but how do we break the inside month? Because think about this, y'all. Price action is fractal. Before you break an inside month, something had to occur. You needed to go 2 up on the week. You needed to go 2 up on the day. You can't just skip over that. You have to. It's a must. You have to. So there's a signal that's possibly telling you how it can go 2 up on the week. There's possibly a signal that's telling you how it can go 2 up on the 2 week. That's the thing. So before you go 2 up on a month, you must go 2 up on a 3 week, 2 up on a 2 week, 2 up on a weekly. And there's a signal that tells you how it can actually trigger those. And that's essentially like what we're doing. We're finding those signals that say, yeah, this side is more likely to get triggered and it's more likely to continue in that direction. Last question, look at 50% of the previous year for Dash. Let me do that real quick. Oh, Yandy. Yandy, I'm telling you, Yandy, we're gonna change your name to Mr. 50%. I'm telling you. If y'all don't know, Yandy's always the one. Hey, if you guys need a 50%, if you need to know, hey, we're 50% of the year, we're 50% of the quarter, we're 50% of the 17-week chart, Yandy got you. He got you. All right. Hey, I appreciate you. But you are right. We did bounce at 50% of the previous year. But we're currently reversing off of 50% of the previous year, which is not bad at all. This is what I'm saying, bro. I think DoorDash could do it. I think DoorDash could do it. And if it triggered 2 up on a month, because I want people to consider this. Like, yeah, it's cool and all, but in reality, we're consolidating on a higher time frame. So like the move occurs above 239. and we're at 230 right now. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense. It triggered a 1-3 on the 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, and 8-day. Can you look at LUV? Yes, let me look at LUV. And I think LUV is a good candidate for this year. I think good LUV is a great candidate. Jets look like they're... Oh my goodness, this is beautiful. Hold on. Oh my gosh. What? That's a 113 on a 4-day? I don't remember the last time I've seen this. This is crazy. You can guarantee this will be on the watch list. And the thing is, as much as I want upside, or the charts, most of the time frames are saying upside, we do have to be objective. We do have to be objective that it is a 113, so it can trigger 2 down or 2 up. Of course, we want the 2 up. Of course, we want to do up. But this is crazy. This is something we will watch. This will be on the watch list for tomorrow. And because, hold on, where's the week? 2-2 up on a 2-week. 2-2 up on a 3-week is already in force. This probably wants 2 up on the month. Yeah, it probably wants 2. Is that also 2 up on the year? That's 2 up on the year. Yeah, that's 2 up on the year. Off the hammer year. Off the double hammer year. This looks good. I think LUB looks good. We'll talk about it in a different time. You guys saw what DAL did. I'm gonna leave it at that. And I remember what DAL was trading at in 2020. That's all I'm gonna say. That is all. I'm gonna leave it at that. I remember what DAL was trading in 2020. All right. So, today you mentioned about 6 candles in red and a possibility. Oh yes, let me explain that, please. Thank you for asking that question. Thank you for asking. So what I mean is that because now we're entering CCRP territory, right? So because Apple has gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait. Oh, it's only 5. My bad. I thought it was 6. My apologies. I thought it was 6 red days, but it's only 5 red days for Apple. But we know you are entering CCRP territory, meaning that as soon as you get a green candle close, right, you would have the potential to do a CCRP back up. So that's why I'm saying get ready to start trimming if you have not already, or start to take some profits, because you have the potential. Not saying it's going to do a complete reversal, but you have the potential to do a lower, like a 1-day reversal back to the upside if you get a green day tomorrow, and then on Friday you get your CCRP continuation. Right? Friday's candle or the CCRP getting triggered is not saying, oh, we're going to go all the way back to the highs, but you could just get a release or retrace it back to the upside a little. And just so, because we're right here on Apple, real quick. So what I mean by and I call this, I just made it up, y'all. Like CCRP brewing. You have a CCRP brewing. This is what I mean by that. When you have a CCRP brewing is when you have consecutive candles of one color. So you know that, all right, because what constitutes a CCRP is 3 days. So once you have 3 days of one color, you now are getting to okay, you have a CCRP brewing that's coming up. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry for the word phrase. I just be thinking, And then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green days. You have a CCRP brewing, right? Every single green day you go up, you have a CCRP brewing. CCRP brewing here, CCRP brewing here, CCRP brewing here, CCRP brewing here, CCRP brewing. Now look, CCRP potential, right? And this is why I'm bringing that up, because if anyone was long Apple, you're like, "Ooh, everything's good, yeah, we're going, whoa." And then you get your first red candle, you're like, "No, everything's good, y'all, everything's good, nothing's gonna happen, we're chilling." But the red candle is telling you, you may not be chilling, because you can now do a CCRP to the downside, right? So that's what I mean by now with Apple, you have a CCRP brewing, because as soon as you get a green candle, you can have a potential reversal back up. And if y'all can find a better phrase or whatever, let me know. let me know. IBM, it closed red on the day, but it did trigger 2 up. Is that still? Yes, it is. Yes. It is still a CCRP being triggered. Yes, it is. So IBM, it did trigger the CCRP. Some people will say or some people will think that, once you have a CCRP, you must close green. Like when you trigger it, you Nope, that is not what the CCRP says. All the CCRP is saying that if you close green, you have a high probability of triggering 2 up. And by definition, 2 up means green. So that's why usually it closes green. But that's all the CCRP says. It says that if you have a green candle, the next candle has a high probability of doing a 2 up candle. 2 up candle is still a failed 2 up candle is still a 2 up candle though. So this did trigger the CCRP, you just close as a failed 2 up. And same thing with QQQ. QQQ, it did trigger the CCRP, you just close as a shooter. And even if QQQ were to close red on the day, it still did a CCRP. It still did it, right? So it's not necessarily the result, right? It's more of the plan. Yeah, the plan part. Action part, I guess. Yeah, that's the part that for CCRP. All right, y'all. That's going to be the end. Whoa, we got one. Wow, my apologies, an hour and a half. Like I always said, y'all, everything is in AdexTrades University. Everything is going to be in AdexTrades University. Please check out AdexTrades University in GK. I will review DVLT in Trading Chat. I'll post it in Trading Chat because I do have to do something. But you guys, please, like I'm going to say this again. How I draw gaps. What is CCRP? My favorite strat combos, double inside, double outside, 1-3s. It's all within the lessons. The lessons are all within 15 minutes long. I tried for y'all. Please let me know your feedback. It is all there. And let's continue to win, y'all. All right. I'll catch you all later. You guys have a good one and peace out. This was recorded, so I will post it later on in the recordings. All right. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one.